This wasn't just a trade, it was a fracture that had been forming quietly for months, maybe even longer. And by the time Chicago Sky finally moved on from Angel Reese, the decision didn't feel sudden inside the building. It felt overdue. On the surface, the move made no sense to casual observers. You don't just give up a two-time All-Star, a historic rebounder, a player who dominated headlines and social media, without a serious internal calculation. But that's exactly what made this moment so revealing, because it forced everyone to confront a deeper question. What if the version of Reese that the public saw was not the version that teams evaluated when they broke down film, locker room dynamics, and long-term fit? The numbers told one story. Double-doubles, relentless energy, unmatched rebounding instincts, but numbers without context can be misleading. A significant portion of her rebounds came off her own missed shots, which doesn't show up as a negative in the box score but does show up in offensive stagnation, broken rhythm, and wasted possessions. For a player operating almost entirely within a few feet of the basket, shooting percentages hovering around the low 40s raised serious concerns, not just about efficiency, but about how defenses could game plan against her. And they did. Opposing teams didn't need to stretch their defense. They didn't need to respect her from mid-range or beyond. They packed the paint, collapsed driving lanes, and forced Chicago into a cramped offensive structure that made life harder for everyone else on the floor. In today's game, where spacing is everything and versatility defines value, that limitation becomes magnified. Now compare that to what was happening simultaneously in Indiana with Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark. Clark didn't just produce stats, she elevated systems. She stretched defenses out to impossible distances, created open looks for teammates, and transformed the entire offensive ecosystem around her. Players like Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston benefited directly from her presence, becoming more efficient, more dangerous, and more confident. That's the difference between production and impact. And when Chicago evaluated Reese, they weren't just asking what she did individually. They were asking what the team became with her as a centerpiece. And the answer wasn't strong enough. So when the trade happened quietly, without chaos or resistance, it wasn't because Reese lacked talent. It was because the organization had already decided that talent alone wasn't solving their bigger problems. The silence wasn't indifference. It was clarity. But the real story, the one that explains why a franchise would move on this decisively, lives in everything that doesn't show up in stats, the relationships, the trust, the culture, and the repeated moments that slowly reshape how a player is viewed internally. Reports of tension didn't come from one isolated incident. They formed a pattern. Public comments about team construction, statements that seemed to challenge teammates through the media instead of internally, and situations involving respected veterans like Courtney Vandersloot created ripple effects that are impossible to ignore in a professional locker room. When a veteran who has won championships and earned respect across the league becomes part of a public narrative questioning her value, especially while recovering from injury, that doesn't just stay in an interview, it changes how teammates see each other. Then there was the dynamic with Camila Cardoso, a player Chicago clearly views as a cornerstone for the future. Two young frontcourt pieces, both needing space, both operating in similar areas, both expected to grow together. And instead, the fit never stabilized. Statistically, the pairing struggled. Structurally, the spacing collapsed. And reportedly, personally, the relationship deteriorated to the point where coexistence no longer looks sustainable. That's the moment every front office dreads. Because once a team has to choose between two foundational players, the decision defines the next 5 years. Chicago chose Cardoso, not just because of skill set but because of fit, trajectory, and the belief that she could anchor a system without friction. And that decision tells you everything about how Reese was being evaluated behind the scenes. Add in moments of controversy, including league-reviewed incidents and narratives that didn't align with what teammates and coaches experienced firsthand, and the gap between perception and reality started to widen. Trust, once fractured, is incredibly difficult to rebuild in a professional environment where every game, every practice, every interaction matters. By the time the suspension labeled "conduct detrimental to the team" entered the picture, it wasn't the beginning of the problem. It was documentation of it. That kind of language isn't used lightly. It signals that an organization has reached a point where internal solutions have failed and formal action is necessary. From there, the outcome becomes predictable. The trade wasn't about maximizing value, it was about resolution. And that's why the return felt underwhelming to outsiders. Because when a team truly wants to move on, leverage disappears. Meanwhile, Atlanta Dream stepped in and made a different bet. That a new environment, new teammates, and a reset could unlock a better version of Reese. It's a gamble that sports history has seen countless times. Sometimes it works, often it doesn't, because talent travels, but so do patterns. Now Atlanta faces a complex challenge, integrating a high-usage interior player into a roster that already includes strong front-court presence while maintaining spacing for perimeter stars like Ryan Howard and Alisha Gray. The basketball fit raises immediate questions, and the cultural fit raises even bigger ones. Chicago, on the other hand, moves forward with something less visible but equally valuable: clarity, cohesion, and a direction that aligns with their vision. So the real question isn't who won the trade today. It's which philosophy proves correct over time. Was Chicago right to prioritize fit over star power? Or will Atlanta prove that talent, when placed in the right situation, can overcome everything else? Because in the end, trades like this don't reveal their truth overnight. They unfold slowly, through wins and losses, through chemistry and conflict, through the quiet moments that never make headlines. And when the final answer comes, it won't be shaped by what was said on the day of the trade. It will be defined by everything that happens after.